or running form that's preventing you from moving correctly. That's essentially what a plateau would be when you stalled out on progress. So just quick little recap, kind of say a couple of weeks before we get into 2019, something that I've heard people talking about is feeling like they're stuck on a plateau. So it's really going to be interactive, give a quick little overview, and then just kind of getting into the nitty and gritty if you have any questions of breaking through your specific plateau. So what I'm saying was, plateau is when you're stalling out on progress. So it uses the example of you're running a 10-minute mile pace, and you're wanting to get that below 10 minutes, and you're focusing on your training, you're focusing on your nutrition, you're focusing on everything that should lead to that mile pace decreasing, but no matter what you do, you're not able to move that needle. Essentially is what that plateau is. And the key thing is that stalling on progress, but still doing the right thing. So if your training is off, if nutrition is off, if your sleep, which is important, is off, you're not in a plateau. You just need to fix those variables. Often fix those variables, and that output will start moving in that direction that it is moving. So, talking about plateaus, they really exist. We start with what I think a lot of people have issues with nutrition. All right? So you come in and you work out here at IEF, right? See how long you so yeah, you come and work out. But we don't necessarily control what you do when you step outside of here. If you're in here for 50 minutes, that's less than 4% of your day. That leaves you another 96% of your day to go off the rails, so to speak. All right?
It's true.
And so, there are a couple of different options, right? It's not necessarily that you could be eating too much. You could be eating too little. You could not be eating the right things. Maybe you just don't know what you need to be eating to get to your goals. And wink, wink, there's a gentleman right behind you, our nutritionist that is here as an excellent resource. We actually have some of our members that use him, and we'll come back to him at the very end. But sometimes it helps to have an objective outside source, whether it be someone like our nutritionist Luke, or using something like MyFitnessPal or some other third-party source to see what's going on, get an objective overview. Because sometimes when you're too close to it, you're not able to see roadblocks that you're maybe putting up for yourself. That's that first part of that three-part question. Now, second question, how are your workouts? Same exact thing. There are different variables. You can be working too hard. There is such a thing as doing too much. You cannot be working hard enough. If you come in here, that's probably not an issue. I think we all do a pretty good job of pushing you. And then it's just tailoring it, right? Because even though you all come in and you do a group workout, you may not necessarily have the same goals. Maybe John here wants to put on 20 pounds of muscle, and Angela is looking to gain like 50 pounds of weight overall, and Sarah wants to slim down and she doesn't really care about muscle, and maybe Amanda just wants to up her cardio. Well, you're all coming in and you're all doing the same workout. Even though you're all doing the same workout, there are little tweaks that you can do to tailor it to what your specific goal is. And to that end, we can help you with that, right? Resource, you can talk to us before, after class. You can also use PT sessions, which come back to again, where you can learn how you come in. For example, if you all came in to workout, there are different ways where you can tweak that workout to your specific goals. So let's say you're looking to build strength at all costs. Well, you don't necessarily care about what muscle group is. You're looking to use essentially everything in your body. Let's say you're doing a deep bench press. Normally you use that to target your chest. But if you're looking to make the most amount of weight possible, you're going to use your chest, you're going to use your triceps, you're going to be using your lats, you're going to be using your quads, essentially every muscle in your body to be hoisting the most amount of weight possible. Versus if you're looking to put on muscle, you're looking for hypertrophy. It's not necessarily about how much weight you're using. It's more about actually being able to feel that muscle work and engaging that muscle. So you want more, something that looks like moderate weight and moderate to high reps with lower rest, not completely skipping rest, but keeping that rest limited. Whereas if you're looking more to focus on that cardio, you're looking to up that, you're going to take your weight down a bit, not so light that you're not even breaking a sweat, but light enough that you're able to continue moving kind of when you come in, when I tell people, especially if you don't warm up on the trim bones, if you warm up on stability or strength, take a look at the workout and ask yourself in your head, how can I tailor this to my specific goal? And then, third part of this question of getting to a plateau, how's your sleep? Same exact thing, a couple of variables that we can talk about with sleep. How much are you sleeping? If you're sleeping 2 hours a night, even if it's great quality sleep, that's just not gonna cut it. Now, conversely, you could be sleeping 10 to 12 hours a night, but if it's really poor quality sleep, constantly eating up, maybe you have a baby or something, and so you sleep, you wake up, you sleep, you wake up, you're just not getting that quality of sleep. It affects your workouts, especially if you come in, let's say you come in at 5 a.m. and work out after a poor night's sleep. It's going to affect what you can do in your workout. But even later in the day, it's going to affect your workout because when you don't get as much sleep, your hormones are now going to be affected, and that poor quality or lack of sleep is going to affect how you eat during the day, and the way that you eat during the day is going to affect how you perform during your workouts. So, same exact thing. You can do this yourself, or you can use an objective third party, which in a lot of cases helps, right? So that you can have someone else kind of looking and telling you what you may be missing out on, where when you're too close, you're just not able to see yourself. So now, let's say you have all three of those things on point, right? Nutrition is great. Workouts, great. Tell us exactly what your goal is. Sleep, awesome quality, adequate amount of time. And you're not seeing that progress. You may be at that point where you're at a plateau. So what happens when you start something new, right? First time you came in inner element, you probably saw awesome gains at the first, right? It's a new kind of workout, something you're not used to. Gain, gain, gain. The thing is, it's not a linear relationship, right? You can't continue indefinitely forever on that straight upward trajectory. But what you don't want is to get to this point where this line is coming up and it's starting to go down. You don't want deceleration. You also don't want that straight table plateau where you're just going straight across. So if you're at that point, what do you think are some things that you can
do? That's what I don't know.
All right. So I'm going to get back to that. But let's talk about kind of what I was mentioning. So you have this dip, and you get it in anything. It can be fitness, it can be your career, it can just be life in general, where things are great at first, upward, upward, upwards. And then you get to this point where things start to go down and you start to get frustrated because no matter how much you're putting in, you're not seeing that result out. It's like the harder you work, the less you see the results. And in any kind of arena, that can be frustrating. The key thing though is to realize that it's a sign that you've just reached a point where now you just need to tweak some variables. It's not a bad thing. You just have to know how to go about it. So, going back to at the beginning, right? You came in and probably the first thing that was on your mind when you started here was mastering the workout, right? Mastering going from an ignite to a grind to an unleash to a recovery and doing that over and over. Coming over to stability and let's say your goal is 2 to 3 rounds. Figuring out how to do that. Same thing on strength. Well, you've done that, and now you just kind of in that groove where you're not necessarily going through the motions, but you're kind of spinning around and around. Well, let's take it back to the beginning where you had those small little goals that you were focused on achieving, those small wins. Going right back to that. You're in an ignite, you're in a grind, you're in an unleash. Ask yourself, is it the same exact thing that you've been doing for 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, since the beginning of when you started your workout? You can't, unfortunately, continue to do the same thing at the same level and continue to expect that growth. So maybe when it comes to cardio, you just need to bump your ignite. It doesn't have to be a huge amount. You don't have to go from a 5.0 to a 7.0, 5.0 to 5.1 when inadequate, or 5.0 to a 5.2. Small little things that you can focus on every workout. So taking that larger goal, right? Let's say it was putting on 10 pounds of muscle. Well, that's that far away goal. That's that thing that you can't touch now. Break it down into smaller things that you can achieve, check off, and say, I'm either working towards this or not on a monthly basis, and then breaking it down even smaller into a weekly basis, and then breaking it down to a workout by workout basis. And then, just along with that, our interview in finance, investing, you know what compound interest is? Sarah is gonna tell us.
I'm not in finance.
Sorry?
I don't work in finance.
It's where you
Well,
were.
you know what compound interest is. All right, so,
You were an interest on interest is what you're talking about.
yes.
I'm not spending. They make it.
It works the same, actually, it's funny. So, compound interest, right? Let's say, you won't actually see this, but you've got a bank account where you earn 10% on your money. So you deposit $10, well, you're going to get $1 in interest on whatever that time period is. You don't just earn that dollar of interest on the $10. You now, once you earn that dollar of interest, will earn interest on that $1.10, and so on and so forth. So it starts off as a small little hill, starts to grow and grow and grow until it becomes a mountain. Well, the awesome thing is this doesn't just work in finance and investing and in saving. It works in everything in your life. And if you are integrated, there's actually two great books that go more into this. One is actually The Compound Effect. It's by Darren Hardy. The other one, I don't exactly remember the title off the top of my head. But essentially, you want to have that same approach to your workouts, right? Take that small win, build on that, and continue to build on that, and continue to build on that. Workouts and nutrition, right? So let's say, going back to this, you don't eat vegetables. I've actually had people tell me that they haven't eaten a vegetable in years. It happens, right? Let's say you start off with a small goal of eating one vegetable per week, like one single stick of carrot or celery. And then you accomplish that, and then you take that baseline and you add on to it, and you continue to add on to it, and you continue to add on to it. Well, then you get that ball rolling again and start to see that progress. Probably not as great as when you first started, when you weren't doing anything, and then you went to this huge change. But getting those small wins and then compounding on that helps. Third part of this is progress, right? It would be great, and I would love it too, if we could just walk in and not think about anything, right? Just go through the motions, just do whatever you want, grab 5-pounders and go to town with that. We actually need to have a tiny little bit of thought behind what we're doing, right? It can be tedious, but that little bit of thought, right? Saying, all right, I was at this level when I started. Now I want to get to this level. What are the metrics? What do I need to be measuring to see that I'm making progress? Whether it's nutrition, whether it's sleep, whether it's your workout, or if it's something in all three, right? One little thing that you can focus on, whether it's quantitative or qualitative, and measure that progress. So, does anyone want to share something that maybe they feel like they've been plateauing on? And we can actually run through a little example of this. Guys,
I'm not going up in my weight.
all right.
So for the running, I can run faster,
Actual weight.
but it's just not doing it for me, so I never reach the red zone. So I just add a little bit of incline when I'm running, and that really works for me.
So when you're getting to your unleash,
Yeah.
you're not hitting the red, so you decided to add that little bit of incline.
Yeah, I'm doing 11 now, and I'm just not hitting the red one, so I'm
You
like,
can't go
okay.
faster than that, believe it or not.
Yeah.
There's this, after that, wait, okay, so let's say, it's a little more complicated, but your heart's not responding to your unleashes quite as much, or you're not able to elevate it. Now, I will say this, you don't necessarily need to hit the red zone. So you just want to get up into that high silver, but you're not doing it, so you're stuck at this level, right? One thing would be, okay, how much time am I spending in my unleash? Is it when I'm in a 30-second that I'm not able to hit it? Am I able to do it if I do that same exact parameter for 45 seconds? I'm able to do it if I do that same exact movement for 1 minute, or we take it a step back and go to your grind. Is that what you need to be elevating? Do you need to have a more elevated grind going into your unleash in order to get that response, so that you're having a longer amount of time where your heart is under that pressure and able to respond? Does that make sense?
Yes.
Anything else? No? Alright. So, a couple more, if you will, tips and tricks. Shock effect. So, there are lots and lots of workouts, right? If you have been around, you've probably seen a lot of them. Beachbody, P90X, Insanity, Billy Blanks, Tempo, all that stuff, right? When you do something that's novel, that your body is not used to, you have that response where, because you're doing something that you're not efficient at, now your body has to figure out how to adjust and how to respond to that. It's under this new threat. But we can kind of have the same thing here with your workouts. Or we can do the same thing when it comes to your nutrition. Or we can, in a way, do the same thing when it comes to your sleep. Alright? And then, flip side of that, and kind of what I talked about, was goal attainment and then adjustment. So, when you set a goal, right? I mean, a great goal, right? Maybe your goal, you want to be a millionaire. Not a millionaire yet. Maybe we need to bring that bar down a little bit, right? You're not going to go from $500,000 to $1 million overnight. Unless you're a very lucky person. You are. Don't talk to me. But, it all starts with setting good, smart, achievable goals. And you all know what SMART goals are. You all heard that phrase, that term. Specific, measurable, actionary, all that good stuff. So you can do this yourself, or you can sit down with, like I said, that objective third party, that professional, to help you figure out what is a good goal for me. Do I need to focus on performance? Do I need to focus on just adequately fueling myself so that I can do what I want? Or do I need to focus on just establishing parameters so that I'm able to get the amount of sleep that I need? And then once you have that goal, don't just write a goal and then throw it into a corner and come back to it 6 months later. It's having some kind of actionable plan, right? You want to define start point, you want to define end point, and then you want to be checking in regularly to make sure that you're working and making progress towards that goal. And then adjusting, right? Let's say you set a goal and you're working on it, and you're seeing growth, but it's just not happening. You're not going to go from point A to point Z. Maybe you change that market. Instead of going to point Z, you bring it down to point K. It's kind of being able to.
Dana, how do you achieve the shock effect here when we're doing very similar workouts the same pattern of workout every day?
Okay. So we can go specifically into kind of going back to what I was mentioning with those different goals. So if you're after strength, that's going to look a certain way. If you're after more kind of like a bodybuilding hypertrophy, adding muscle, that's going to look a different way. And then, if you're looking for that cardio, it's a different way. But then also techniques, what we've been using already, and then you're going to see some of next week, some of these effects of not just, let's take something like a squat. Yeah, you can just grab a dumbbell and you can squat down, and you can stand up and just kind of do it and do it and do it and not think about it. But now, there are a couple of different ways you can approach it. How's your stance? Do you always kind of take this just about hip width stance? Have you ever taken your stance out wide? Have you taken your stance in? How's your tempo, right? How many seconds do you use going down? Do you pause? Do you not pause? Which is another effect. And how long does it take you coming up? Do you add in kind of plyometrics where maybe you're coming up off the toes? Or adding in a jump? How's your weight, right? So let's say you come in and you see a set of 10 reps. Maybe if you're more after strength, you say, 10 reps, it's not quite going to cut it. But we can take that and we can make that, say, 3 sets of 4, slightly more reps, but you're able to kind of take that and adjust that, tweak it to a little bit more what you're looking for. Or even maybe it's a set of 30 and you bring it down, or if it's a set of 5, like, yeah, that's quite not going to cut it. I'm going to increase that. Instead of doing a set, 5 squats, and going on, I'll do the set, 3 sets, 2 to 3 rounds. That's a suggested goal. And I'll do that all at once, 4 sequences, on to the next, and on to the next, and then on to the next. Or we take some of the planks and then you love your planks, right? Well, we can weight it, so we can add weight to that plank. We can add instability by putting your feet in the TRX. You can add instability by having either your feet or your hands opposed to. We can have you kind of adding some dynamic motion into that plank, whether it's arm raises, leg raises, and knee drive, adding in some twisting motion, some rotation. So kind of going back to those basic movements and not just doing it for it's just to be fun, but tweaking it to fit your specific goal. And then not just doing it once, and that's the other thing. You don't want to just do it once and then move on to the next thing. Stick with it for a while, about 2 to 4 weeks of constantly doing that and allowing your body to figure out how it's going to respond to this new inefficiency. And then once you reach that level, do the same exact thing. You tweak it a little bit. Is that any other questions on that end? Well, Kelly. So, I'm very biased. And I'm going to say this because I was having a conversation with Luke about this, right? It's easy to coach other people. It can be tough to be your own coach, right? Even for me. Let's say I want to do a powerlifting competition. I'm probably not actually going to sit down and write out a powerlifting program for me to do, because I'm going to start to tweak it and bias it towards the things that I like to do and not necessarily work on my weaknesses, because you like to do the things that you're good at because it makes you feel good. You don't want to do the things you're not good at because it just reminds you of the thing that you're not good at. That doesn't make you feel better. So when you have someone else, right? If I go out and I have another coach write out a powerlifting program for me, and now I'm following it and I'm having to kind of go back and say, all right, I did this, this, and this, and they're looking at it and they're saying, okay, so you did all this, we need to work on this, or let's tweak this, or this is going great, let's continue with that. That adds different layers of accountability, but then also staying on task. Because sometimes, especially in 2018, kind of get that shiny object syndrome where we're working on something and we look at this other thing and we want to throw that in, and we look at this other thing and we want to throw that in, and we read an article about this other technique, and so we want to do that and do that and do that. And the issue with that is you're not spending enough time on that one thing I was kind of mentioning to you to actually allow those kind of changes to happen. So to that end, maybe you go it alone, try it on. If you've tried it on your own several times and it's not working, it's not a bad thing to have an objective third party. It could be an app that you use. It could be the other branches and services that Inner Element offers. So if you didn't know, we've got a nutrition department and we've got a PT department. Like I said, biased because I happen to think it's top notch. But what if you were to combine those 3 things, right? Group classes and nutrition and PT, and not in an ongoing, continual fashion, but something with a defined start, a defined beginning, and you kind of choose the in-between, whether you want to do it more self-directed or you want more of that guidance. There was another slide. I really want to get out, but that is actually something that will be rolling out very shortly. We're kind of helping you to go take what you've done so far and continue to move on and on and on. Because with a group class, it's great. You can get a lot out of it coming in. Sometimes if you have more specific goals, and it's not just generally feeling healthier and getting better, if you have something you want to do 8 show, or you want to be a power lifter, or you want to do a backflip, something, a bit more specific than you're going to get in the class, it can be helpful to essentially have that outside. So we'll definitely be getting that out to you guys. I won't, but look out for an email Monday. We're going to kind of get our take and our approach. We're kind of combining all of the powers of the different departments of Inner Element and putting that in a fairly easy, like I said, to digest program where you essentially pick your level of engagement, whether it's more self-directed, where I just need that tiny little push from someone else, or if you need more guidance and you kind of need that hand holding and need that person to be at your side and holding you accountable. So that's all I have for you. Do you have any questions for me?
I have a question. I apologize for being
No,
so
you're
late,
fine.
but just coming from work. So, you and I kind of talked about plateau-wise just from a weight standpoint, and I apologize if it's already been brought up. But what is your suggestion? Okay, you work out 5, 6, sometimes even 7 times a week. You feel as though you're eating healthy, but you're just at this point where you're like just not losing the weight. But help me out there. I feel like I'm losing fat because I'm losing fat, but my weight is not going down. I know muscle weighs more than fat, but still, it just doesn't seem, I don't know if anyone else feels that way, but I do.
Yeah, me.
So,
if you're here for Luke's seminar, I'll kind of circle back around to that. So with losing weight, it's not quite as simple as calories in, calories out. What you do want is for your body to be at a deficit, essentially, where you're taking in slightly less than you're putting out. Now, to that end, you've got nutrition where, so a lot of people will say, I'm eating well, but it goes back to what exactly does well mean. So it could be something like you taking pictures of your meals and showing it to someone else and having someone else look at that and figure it out. You could be using something like MyFitnessPal, where you're actually inputting in so that you're able to see not just how many calories you're eating, but what is the breakdown of proteins to carbs to fats, and how does that need to look for your specific body. And then on the workout side, so what I'm saying was, you can not work hard enough, you can work too hard, and you can do too much. So, it's funny, right? So when you're working in a career, you work hard and you get rewarded for it. You work harder and you get rewarded for it. And it continues on and on. It's not exactly the same with working out though. So if you do 3 workouts and you get results, it's not necessarily that you go to 4 and you'll see more, you go to 5 and you'll see more, and you go to 6 and you'll see more, and so on and so forth. You can essentially put your body in this state where you're working super hard, but you're never giving it time to actually recover and rest and respond. So it's not the workout itself that makes you better, because the workout itself is actually a threat to your body. Don't stop working out. But it's that sort of period of wait where you're responding, resting, and recovering, that your body is able to essentially remodel, whether it's the muscle cells, regenerating all of that, coming back stronger and leaner. But I would say to that, the biggest thing is going to be getting objective, analytical, and measurable information. And I don't know if you heard that, if you came in for this part, but sometimes we can be too close to a situation ourselves to objectively assess. Because, you'll say, hey, I eat great. But then, if we kind of sit down and we go more into it, maybe when you get up, you get your kids ready for school and you make breakfast and you have a little nibble of their pancakes. And then, you go into work and coworkers give you some candy, and so you have a few bites of that. And then you get home and you eat dinner with your spouse and they don't finish the dessert, so you have a little bit of that. it doesn't seem like it's that much, but over the course of the day, that nibble here, that nibble there, starts to add up to where you thought you were in a negative calorie balance, you're actually not now. You're not just in that equilibrium, but maybe even in a calorie surplus. So, I would say you can use MyFitnessPal, you can use Luke if you have not. And then Anais with them, I would highly recommend.
Part of Luke's program and the accountability is literally sending pictures of every meal, everything they eat.
At least at first.
So it's
Unless you don't have a smartphone, John.
Right. Right here.
that's right. We'll find a way for you to email.
You have a camera.
You heard
I
about
have
that.
a disposable
Did you hear that about Vitamin Water, who's paying $100,000 to someone who will get rid of their smartphone for a year? It was on the news last night. Oh yeah.
Oh,
Oh
dear.
yeah. So
Well,
now
John,
you know how to do it
Well,
right there.
yeah, the only thing is I've
Okay.
never had one. So
Buy one on your way there. Buy one on your way there.
Yeah, just get rid of it for a year.
That's crazy.
But that's the big thing, and especially, you may say you eat well, and then the other part of that is where are your meals coming from? Are you going out and shopping and making your own meals? Are you eating out? So you can go somewhere and they say, this is 400 calories, but depending on how the chef prepares it, especially let's say they're really liberal with their butter and they throw it in there, those little extra things start to add up to where you thought, hey, I was eating great on this. Not that you're not eating well, but you just potentially eat too much. So, I always say an objective third party is going to be your best bet. Someone that's not you, someone that's not going to be swayed by you. It could be Luke, it could be MyFitnessPal, it could be a coworker, it could be a neighbor, probably not your spouse, unless you have those kind of boundaries. But someone else that can objectively look down and see what you're doing and help you figure out how to adjust that because it's irrefutable that if you're in a negative calorie balance, you're going to lose weight. It may be slow, it may not be as fast as you want, it may not be as fast as you thought you put the weight on, but it will come off if you're in that negative calorie balance. And then the other part of that is just patience, right? It's never going to be as quickly as you want. And you don't want, I don't think it's on anymore, but Biggest Loser, you guys know that show? That's not reality. You don't want to be losing 30, 40, 50 pounds in a short period of time. That's just not sustainable. And then you have to think, you're not just eating to lose weight, but figuring out your maintenance point. So what happens when you reach that? Are you going to go back to how you're eating before? Well, if you do that and you're adding those calories back in, well, now you're back in a surplus. And you're going to find that equilibrium that's above where you are. So two sort of goes together, finding that negative calorie balance, using that objective third party, and then figuring out what the maintenance is once you've arrived at what you've determined your endpoint to be.
Thank you.
Does that?
Yeah, it does.
And that was kind of Dana's point at the end too. So what we wanted to do along with this, along with, everybody psychologically gets into this mindset with the new year and new goals and things like that, is we're developing and we just got to fine tune it and we'll roll it out Monday, but kind of a jumpstart plan that kind of incorporates, our three-headed front, which is the group class, personal training, and nutrition. Where it's not a long-term commitment for you, but it may get you that jump start to really dive in with any of us, and especially Luke on the nutrition side, where it gets a little deeper and a little more individualized to you, because that's the key with all of this, is we can sit and that's why we kind of show presentations, and it's, it's general in a way, but we want to make it specific to you. The easiest way to make it specific to you is to sit down and talk to you. So it's kind of a jumpstart program of 3 different levels, just like memberships, if you want a little, if you want a lot. And it's kind of, especially if you showed up tonight, it's going to be at a discounted price, so you can jump in and get that, past that plateau. We all reach plateaus, no matter what, and that's Dana's whole point. Every single one of us reach plateaus in some way. Think about it just in your general life, not just exercise, or not just weight. And then it goes so much deeper where it's not just the physical, it's not just the nutrition, it's also psychological, how are we looking at things? The hardest part with all of it is throw your scales away. Scales don't matter. Throw away the generalized outcome out there of BMI. That is totally off. Like, I'm overweight on the BMI scale, okay? You're right. Like, the BMI is just absolutely ridiculous. We all hate it as fitness professionals. It's the worst thing in the world. So don't ever look at BMI.
I'm obese.
Throw that away.
I'm obese.
Exactly.
I'm like, seriously?
Exactly.
Come on.
So it's just, and Luke, I guarantee, is obese because he's shorter than me and weighs almost as much as me. So he's obese. And Derek. So, I mean, that's how much BMI is just ridiculous. So even if your doctors turn around like, your BMI is this, ignore it, okay? Yeah. So there's so many other deeper factors that go into that, and one of our long-term goals in Inner Element is we want to get into more and more assessments and testings and things that we'll be able to do. So that's kind of our deeper passion behind all this, to where it can be even more individualized. Just go into like Ilse talking about not being able to get in the red and unleash, and then you'll have the opposite spectrum of that where people can work out 6 days a week and they're in the red just by jogging. So the hardest part of it is we have an algorithm that is very specific that we use for heart rate percentages and what your max heart rate is, and it's based on age and weight and male and female, and that's what determines your calories and your ranges of heart rate. The only way to get more specific into that and even more accurate is to do an actual oxygen intake, outtake, VO2 max test on you specifically, and then you will get your exact heart rate levels. But guess what? Then you work out for 3 months and you get more efficient, especially in interval training, and the VO2 max changes. So then your zones change again. So you may not see the red on the screen, but you're gonna feel the red. If you feel maxed out, if you feel the red, you're good. If you feel maxed, you're good. Like, and that's where it's mental and physical. So, and that's the hard part too. Like, if you're still in red up on the screen and you're like walking and going, man, I have recovered, what is going on? The more you do this, the better, but also, your VO2 max and your exact numbers, we can only get as specific as we can just from an algorithm. So don't over worry about that. And there's just so much that each of us individually can really get to know your story a whole lot more. Your exercise history determines so much of it. Genetics turn a lot of it. There's just so many factors involved. And then it's just almost a retraining of your brain. Dana talked about reformatting your body and how your body reacts to things. But it's also a retraining of your brain to not just throw out BMI, but throw out half of those things out there, because it's more about how you feel and how your body's reacting, not just what the number on the scale is. And that's the hardest part, because we've just been told that, especially if you've been around exercise or you've watched anything in the fitness realm over the last 20 years, is it's just ridiculous. So it's just a retraining, and that's the hardest part of it. Cool. That's my list.
I leave you with some things, right? Kind of building off of that. Finding those metrics that matter can be important, right? And maybe you don't want to be chasing a number on the scale. Maybe you find something else to focus on. And when you focus on that performance and then you start to achieve that, your body, if you're having nutrition and your sleep, kind of lifestyle in check, will respond in that appropriate fashion. But the flip side of that, I kind of wanted to tell you guys, right? I know that sometimes we can get stubborn and we think, I've got this, I can do this, I've done this before, there's no reason I can't do it now. So one of my good friends just got his bodybuilding pro card. I won't go into the details, right? He'd been doing it himself for 8 years and not able to achieve it. And finally this year, he went and got a coach to help him. And the coach was able to do for him and it helped him achieve it a year what he couldn't do himself in 8 years. So sometimes, I've been saying this, we get too close to a situation and we're not able to objectively assess it and figure it out. So, I would say kind of a couple of things. Don't be so stubborn. Even if you've achieved something in the past, it may be that it's a different ballgame now, and just getting that outside help can be, that sort of cheat code, if you will, but also, not feeling ashamed about it. It's not a bad thing to go outside and get help from someone else to help you figure out what you need to be focusing on and how you can tweak things to help you achieve your goals. Because in the end, it's not the how that you want to be focused on. If I did it myself or someone else helped me do it, this and that, that's not what matters. What matters is figuring out that goal and then achieving that goal. The quicker you can kind of flatten that road out, instead of projecting it out horizontally for a long period of time, you're going to be better off. Cool.
Woohoo!
Do you have any other questions, any other things for it?
Will you come back and visit us sometime?
You want to come back and visit again? We were In-N-Out.
Yeah, there you go.
In-N-Out is opening up in Cape, so you bring the In-N-Out.
There you go. That's all it takes.
Or some Whataburger.
Yeah.
Whatever leaves here.
Yeah, that's all I have for you guys. Remember, just kind of keep an eye out on your inbox Monday for something coming through. And
And make sure you sign into class.
I think you all
Because
do
you
that.
get a discount?
First night.
Yes.
Yeah.
First night we're signing.
We'll sign you in. You're signed up at least.
Okay.
And I know you're here. So.
But, thank you guys for your time, and just realize, right, there's a lot of thought and effort you don't necessarily see that we all put in individually and then as a team to provide words. An environment, there we go, in which you can define goals and then succeed in them. So as you kind of go into 2019, you're already doing it, but think even more, inner element is your ally. How can you best utilize inner element to achieve these fitness, nutrition, lifestyle goals in your life and kind of compress that time horizon to get there? That's all I got for you, unless you have something for me.
Is this the only inner element? Is there another one?
Yet, so far. Goal is many, many, many more.
Other than you said
I was about to say, where are you?
that. Galleria. This is the only one that matters.
Galleria.
Galleria. Take a far people.
It'll be a while.
Keep your eyes open.
I'll be trying to-
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you guys.